Okay. Man, that was a really good intro. That guy he has super talent. The 1 minute intro is already 10 times more epic than whatever you get nowadays. And he also has always. I need to replay that because I want to see what soundtrack he's playing there. He always gets really some. Not something cheesy like, I don't know, getting some movie soundtrack, which is. But now he finds really good, unique soundtracks, which are not even. That guy is absolutely a genius. Should be hired here by Bohemian Active and should make the official campaigns. What is it? Shazam. Okay. It was good, we can watch it again. Hier, Welt. Ja, also picks really good footage. That man has really best hand for footage. He finds really the best World War II footage. And you immediately want to be a pilot. So I was first thinking, man, I don't know, pilot in ARMA. Dude makes 1 minute intro. I'm okay. I'm sold. Let's go. Wait, I found it. I just want to check it quickly out. Yeah, no, this one. Man, that part kicks hard. Yeah, crazy, man. Dude is must be some sort of. I mean, he really finds soundtracks. I first need to find them. There is here some Here's some really good findings. Meditation music here, music from some smaller artists, and it is fitting as nothing else. Okay. Campaign is designed for the F4 Wildcat, but you can also fly a Douglas SPD dive bomber. Can you properly dive bomb in this game? I don't know. And that is a bit, I doubt. It's an EL2 probably, yeah. SPD or... No man, I don't know, dive bomber. It would be interesting to check out the dive bomber. Oh, finger press some. Shit. Good, let's check out the F4. I mean, they said, the campaign mentions that the campaign is designed for the F4. But yeah, I mean, torpedo bomber, dive bomber. On the other hand, the campaign is designed for the F4, let's play the F4. We'll only screw up those dive bombings. Man, those World War II dudes. Crazy. If we could have more of this World War II footage, like that, what they have, I mean, way more and less shitty Ukrainian war or whatever modern footage where they show people blowing up or getting killed while playing some retard pop music and making mockery out of them. We'll change all this crap drone footage, man, for going back into the past and getting footage of the World War II, especially those naval battles also. I mean, imagine you're on a carrier and then there's 40, 50 planes incoming, ready to dive bomb. There was crazy dive bombs, I mean, those accounts. Especially Battle of Midway, I mean, they almost basically missed the one dude on its own realized, man, let me go for the dive bomb. I don't know if he make it out. It was crazy, man. I mean, you went over the carrier, man. Every flak is shooting at you. Fight that's chasing you down, and you're going into the in formation, man. You're going into the dive bomb and going here all in on those carriers, close range, and pray for the best. While the guys in the carriers think the same, man. Pray for the best. I mean, it must be crazy footage. Especially from both perspectives, from the carrier perspective, but from the formation when they go into dive bomb mode. Needle's not removing, right? And he mentioned I need to wait until the engine warms up. So the needle should be normally in the center. I better save in case I crash. shit, I'm sorry. Oh no, man, landing. Yeah, good idea. Always safe, man. Yeah, genius. Of course. That's a minimal speed for F4. Speed brake? How do I use the speed brake? X. Yeah, it is not here EL2 Stormovik or DCS, but it's fun. That was not what I'm also looking for. Okay. Submarine hunt. Yeah, but with a F4. Oh, on the other hand, why not? Because depending on what sub, sure, you can strafe them. Why not? Sure.
Join group.
I remember as a kid, man, it was such a huge deal when they released Resistance and you could walk, I think, higher buildings you could walk. That was, previously it was, could walk roofs and even stand on things. Yeah, like there was on a ship. That was quite a big deal back in the day. So wow, man, crazy, man, what technology. It's normally you clip through, yeah. There were some naval ships in Operation Flashpoint, but in the original version you clip through. They were just statics. That was a bit close. It's better change the formation. Was a bit fast. Ah, shit, yeah, safe, man. Nein. Yeah, that was... Oh, wait, mission complete. Yeah, Jimmy, the playing god I like scratch. Deck is also good. Was a bit fast, true, but... Is the mission complete thing triggering? No, I don't... Probably because I died before. It was a bit fast. It's really hard. Somehow the aircraft, they fly super fast. They're really hard to slow down. If you're doing a turn like that, you would bleed speed so hard. It was still on 300.
Join group.
Is there some channel with World War II porn? Where people just roll some, yeah, basically real footage, not training footage, but yeah, combat footage to some extent, of course, yeah, but like what we saw here in the intro. Could watch this footage for hours. I really also like, man, you know, documentaries with real footage. But nowadays they do everything digitally or whatever. I think that is who wants to see that shit? Give me real footage. You know those cheap ass documentaries where they show you some graphics animation and everything broken down so that every Willy on the planet can understand it. I mean, that's a good thing about YouTube, that you have some people that go a bit deeper into that. Because on TV, I mean, documentaries, I think they're rather degraded. Some modern documentaries, man, are sometimes really aimed at, what is World War II? I recently watched a documentary, Arte, I mean, they make public broadcast, okay? Oh man, people, they make such good documentaries. Yeah, they make indeed some good. They also make recently so much low IQ stuff, man, it's unbelievable. German submarines. Did they dominate the Atlantic? Now, contrary to many beliefs, they did not. Ah, seriously, man, they did not. That's perhaps why they lost the war, man. And they sometimes claim bullshit I've never heard. Entgegen, what do you say? Contrary to popular belief, German submarines were not able to dive infinite. What popular belief, man? I guess most people know that those things couldn't. Ah, yeah, goodbye, I dive. Okay, see you in three years. Yeah, shit, man. Nazi Germany lost, better dive and reappear in 20 years. Okay. Nachkriegslegenden. Also if so people running around, hey, did you hear, man, German submarines can dive without ever needing to go for oxygen? Yeah, man, I also heard that. Sometimes they also claim bullshit. And half of that documentary, I think, it is made by AI, because I often heard now, even journalists now, if they're getting some, I don't know, some make some documentary that people always watch, yeah, submarines, Barbarossa, you know, this typical bullshit, Hitler documentary, always runs, yeah. But sometimes I think they simply are too lazy to do the research. I heard a lot of people, even journalists, lazing out on doing research and rather simply go to ChatGPT and simply ask, ChatGPT, give me a good script for World War II German submarine documentary. So basic, man. It's really so. I mean, sure, there is of course a reverse Dunning-Kruger, because we of course play so many war games here, and I'm also quite a submarine buff. But it's so low level. I think it is because there was, for example, back in the days, man, from the 90s or something, there was this Battlefront series, some British documentaries. they are better and on higher level and better made with cool footage than those modern things. Because they sometimes claim bullshit there. And Germans also had very bad torpedoes. During that set, we had the worst torpedoes of the entire war, which is complete bull. I mean, they had problems with electric torpedoes as everybody had. I mean, the worst torpedo is arguably the US one. The US one. And the steam torpedoes were working fine. And the electric torpedo, I mean, where the at Weserübung fired at the battlecruiser and all 3 torpedoes malfunctioned. Where they, I think, also tried to use a magnetic detonator when they switched them back to contact. I think that was probably the magnetic detonator, but the Germans had the option to switch to contact. While I think the American ones, the Mark 14 had all problems. It was running too deep because they tested the torpedo with a wrong simulation weight. So those torpedoes were always underrunning the ships. This was some submarine commander who figured out, Jimmy, if I set that to 0, then we at least hit that boat with contact. But also the fuses were complete, the detonators were complete bollocks. And that is arguably the worst torpedo. The early Mark 14 was a complete utter shit torpedo. And that was the only torpedo the US had, US submariner had. The Germans at least had still a steam torpedo, and they realized, okay, something's wrong with those electrics. I mean, at night, fire those steams. You will not really see the bubbles at night that easily if they don't use here some. And they probably usually don't use here searchlights, because that would of course give away their position. So that documentary made by Arte, but it's really, I tell you, it's if they gave some public broadcast journalists, hey, make another submarine documentary, because it is always good for clicks. But I have no clue of submarines, and I also don't want to get any clue of submarines, because it is Nazi shit and whatever. Yeah, okay, then ask ChatGPT, let ChatGPT write a script for a submarine. It's really low IQ docu, man. I tuned out. Contrary to popular belief, German submarines couldn't dive infinite. What? Never heard of that. Never heard somebody claiming that, man. I was thinking German submarines could fly. And they could dive, fly, and everything, man. Wow, crazy, man. Good that I watched that Arte doku. Nah, man, I was really... and then I watched after that, because I simply was doing something beside and wanted to podcast, basically. Then I watched that Battlefront documentary about the Battle of Atlantic from the 90s. They're really, I don't know, they have now this approach that, documentaries are watered down anyways, but the public broadcast is now really the king of making it low IQ. Because also, submarines are so, what they usually did, they dived, and just before the attack, they appeared. So, okay, that is now people absolutely understand how submarines work. They were diving and approaching you, and then... what did they say then? Aztec is explained like, I don't know, like you try to explain Aztec to a 4-year-old or something. It's really, and you can tell whoever wrote that has no clue. I think really they asked ChatGPT write us a documentary. Because I really heard that even journalists do that now, movie makers or documentary makers. Ja, submarines were actually UFOs on Mars, ja. Contrary to popular belief, entgegen weitläufiger Nachkriegslegenden. Halt den Rand, also hab ich schon nie gehört. Was wirklich, also deutscher Staatsfunk. Der Verein, wenn der irgendwann, wirklich, diese Leute, Alter, ist das so ein dekadenter Laden, also, sorry, make a campaign, but, I better don't say it, otherwise 10 years later, the SEK rose into my building. Why you getting everything? What is going on? 10 years ago, you threatened and conducted hate speech against the public broadcast. What? Yeah, on a stream, we got you, man. And there was a new anti-hate speech law. 5 years prison. Yeah, but the public broadcast, because Arte also, man, I know so a lot of people, man, Arte is doing so, and also the comments, man, the documentary is also good, because people eating simply what they are fed. You basically have no people that, double check or something, if there's some saying this is like yellow is green, they believe that because the commentaries are, oh man, art documentaries, and you watch those documentaries and think, yeah, I don't know. Sure, again, reverse Dunning-Kruger. I mean, I know, or we know a ton about submarines. But it is simply so low quality, and that's why sometimes when I watch some older ones are better. I mean, they are also not deep. That is the problem. That's why YouTube is good. You have at least some specialists or whatever that go a bit deeper. Still, but it's really hard to find submarine, really good deep submarine. Drachenifel. Yeah, but for submarines is also, I mean, something really deep. I mean, that is usually you need to basically play Silent Hunter or whatever, but nobody's really. Or perhaps there's some books, where they really describe, for example, the attack method, how the attack procedure was and everything, and the details. Because I mean, the submarines, and then they got wrecked, by Aztec and aircraft. Okay, you heard it 20 times, I could already figure that out when I was 6 years old. I think Das Boot is still better than 99% documentaries. At least gives you some idea what they're doing there, how submarines worked. I mean, the information is out there. That's why I think. I mean, the most where you find most detailed is really the mods for Silent Hunter. But I also would wish sometimes that he would make longer videos about those ships. I mean, what is it, 10 minutes or whatever, but sometimes they're a bit Wikipedia style. I mean, it's basically like you enter that ship in Wikipedia and get the details. I know, sometimes he makes really cool videos, but sometimes details. 10, 12 minutes, I don't know if you describe this some a submarine class that is simply, you can't describe a Type 7 submarine class. There's one Horowitz, that is more, but I know there's a lot of what I call ship reports, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes long, and I think it is on Wikipedia level, often. Not really missing detail, really. Submarines, I watched some of his submarines, it was really on Wikipedia, less even to some extent than Wikipedia. Type 7, a middle range boat, okay, this and that, was refitted, and etc. But so really detail sometimes, it's really hard to find. It is cool, I need to check that, depth charges. But some of these ship briefs or whatever, I find them rather, but it's okay. I mean, that is a typical YouTube video, 10, 12 minutes, that is to maximize. But I find it rather often not really that detailed. In some battle cruiser or whatever, battleship, it had 8 guns, okay, and it's very technical, which is basically like reading Wikipedia. But the development and everything there of those ships and how the combat history was, what was the combat, I mean, that is really stuff you need to read from some books or whatever. What was the combat experience, but there's a lot of other channels as well. There's channels that do tanks, and a lot of those channels never get beyond Wikipedia level. I mean, not here Drachenifel, but I think a lot of channels are simply, also I've seen a lot of channels, they simply roll also the same layout like Wikipedia. I think they are probably sitting on Wikipedia quickly reading that shit. They have some background. I mean, I could also prepare a presentation. I quickly go to Wikipedia, read something about a Panzer IV or any ship, and I can prepare you in a 10 minutes presentation. I watched something from him. What was it? I have exactly the battle cruiser and the fleet action of Jutland. But I still would wish for more channels that go real deep, man, down to, man, what machine and whatever, and they had those problems, man, and then they switched out for here BMW for that engine, with that engine, this and that, and also for the tanks. Operational history is often lacking. The tank was this and that. it could fire 75 millimeter shell. Yeah, okay, I can also take a look at Wikipedia or at War Thunder. But again, not Drachinifel, but a lot of those war history channels, or if they explain some equipment, it is coming straight from Wikipedia. I mean, they often even use the same sentences there. There's some people also tactics wise. I mean, I really like that. There's one German dude. I think he also goes a bit deeper. He basically uses those books and everything. The ZDVs, yeah, those we call it field manuals. To explain tactics. It's also often short. I mean, there's some people that make longer videos. A lot of people keep it short simply to maximize the income and the audience. That's usually what people prefer. They want to see some shit 15 minutes and they're good. Yeah, they don't want that. There's what I'm asking for is niche. There's not really a market for that. But there's a market for people that do 8-hour videos about a video game. Those guys are crazy. Some long, deep about some video game. Morrowind, 8 hour. There's some dude that made a game 10 hours to 15 hours video about Skyrim. Those guys are so crazy, man. But really cool. I mean, some guys go crazy, man. They even get the original footage of the releases out. Yeah, that is a problem. I mean, still YouTube is. I mean, those people want to earn money. If you do it, same. Yeah, there's also some sub briefs about modern submarines. It's really hard to find information. Most of the information you find about modern submarines is also on Wikipedia level, and that has nothing to do with secrecy or whatever. If you really dig, but then you need to do the research. So you need to find, because a lot of literature is also very surface level. There's some people, man, they are deep. They go deep. Perhaps even an expert, some Russian dude who served on a Foxtrot class or whatever, and he will give you a lot of information. Something like that. Yeah. Sometimes you really need to buy it in a specific book for a certain battle or for a certain military hardware, which is of course very expensive. Yeah, those books are sold, I don't know what, 10 times, so they might cost something $80-90. Submarining, I was always looking around for submarining. It's really hard to find World War II submarining, good, really deep stuff. So a lot of those books, those accounts, they're rather surface level. It's really some book, man. What is going on the? I mean, really, Das Boot is almost, the movie is more detailed than a lot of stuff you find there. At least when you watch Das Boot, you get an idea what is going on the boat. Yeah, what they're doing there and whatever. But something like, what is the attack methods? Yeah, how is the crew behaving? What is battle stations? That the Wachoffizier is using the attack scope. In a setting, then the commander comes in or whatever, or one is using there's two periscopes, etc. One observation, one attack. How are surface attacks handled? There was that device on top, and you must really say those dudes, for example, the modders for Silent Hill 3 mods or Silent Hunter 4 or Silent Hunter 5 mods, they probably know more than 99.9% of whatever historians or what. No, it's okay. I believe you. I know he has some longer videos. I sometimes keep them running in the background when I'm doing something, cooking or whatever, because I also like naval ships, and here also when like to play here, rule the waves. Yeah, I know he has some long videos about battles. I know the Jutland one was pretty good. And again, yeah, for what I'm asking, I mean, of course, somebody also needs to put in the work, yeah. Making some 8 hours video for, I don't know what, 100,000 clicks, yeah. It's not really that worthwhile. Yeah. And you, of course, what is your main audience, yeah? And the main audience is not some hardcore dude that needs super detail, yeah. It's like if I make a video about something super deep in combat mission, you have probably not really a lot of people that can't even figure out what you're talking about. Like here, I know how to use that ground radar, something like that. I mean, it's very specific knowledge.
there's simply not a market for it, and you need, of course, you want to get to the most people, and if somebody, you can't make a super detailed video if somebody has absolutely no clue of, say, submarine warfare. But you start immediately to talk about, I don't know, about the effects of towed hydrophones, why they cause fake contacts on the other side because of physics. Or how MRDs actually worked, those things where they've flown with a plane by people. What is that even? What? Magnetic? What? Anomaly? And those long videos, I mean, I think especially when it comes to war, they're probably not making that really much clicks. They are really popular in video gaming because everybody can understand it. But if you want to make now something super detailed, well, I like those in-depth analysis, and that's really, I don't know, where some dude goes, describes a war or even a battle, man, with several hours. Not that I need most of the detail, but I really like those dive downs. Because usually, if it comes to a lot of topics, you already heard it 20 times. If you watch a submarine documentary, that's basically, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, no, I think... especially when it comes to TV or whatever, there's simply no World War II submarine, well, modern submarining. I had to buy basically a audio book, that at least got some detail. For example, how Cold War submarining, there's almost no detail, and it's not because it is secret, it's all nonsense. Information is out there, but to look it up is of course a lot of work. And then you need to get something like Blind Man's Bluff, where you get an idea what they were doing there, and how often they got hot. Yeah, modern submarining is really, I know, really those capabilities of those submarines, how those submarines worked, there's not really anything you can find about that. It's all usually on Wikipedia level. I mean, it is, but I understand that. Making a video or a presentation out of Wikipedia, can do that in 1 hour, will earn you the same clicks as if you, I don't know, dive down there for weeks, and now weeks not, but you know, you get the idea. And a lot of people earn their money with that, so you need to go efficient. Or have this as a side income and don't want to stick around at the weekend for 10 hours for, I don't know what, 100,000 clicks, which is yeah, $100. So who wants to work 10 hours for $100, huh? And 100,000 clicks for a really deep video is probably a lot.
Join group.
But that is not really a good payout. Okay. What was the task? Are we doing a raid? Yeah, I mean, you can change the plane basically every mission. Yeah, we could also go for the Dauntless, try the dive bombing out against high. My head. Okay. Let's try the SPD out. Yeah, torpedo bombers was really... What? Yeah, but also they carried, that was also the same problems. I mean, they carried also, I think, the Mark 14. Avenger was the early war torpedo bomb, yeah. But at Midway, I mean, flying those low level, yeah, torpedo bomber life was the most dangerous one. They suffered the highest casualties. those guys at Midway that got almost all shot down, I think, or they got all shot down, but they got their torpedoes. I think later they estimated by also some Japanese account those torpedoes also impacted those carriers and what. They just didn't detonate again, or they run too deep again because of that shit weapons, whatever, office that kept. I mean, those people really got a lot of people killed. Those shimmies said also, with the torpedoes everything fine, it's the pilots and the submariners that are stupid. We tested here everything once with a sack of beans inside the torpedo. Retards. And those people really got a ton of people killed. And yeah, they tested it without warhead. They tested it with some simulation weight in order to save money, without the fuse, without the trigger, without the detonator. But the simulation weight was not the same weight as the real warhead. You must be stupid, yeah? But yeah, bureaucrats. If people working sometimes, it's like here in modern you still have that. Bureaucrats. I just watched today the documentary that how everything is getting killed and by bureaucracy. A hospital, I told you. Now 40-60% of the costs are by bureaucracy in hospitals. You have one doctor, one nurse, and then you have 10 bureaucrats, doing bullshit. Nothing. If they don't come to the work, nobody notices. It's unbelievable, and they have no clue. And that is really hardcore. I mean, if you test something with a simulation weight, then make sure that it's the same weight like the actual warhead. I mean, fucking 6-year-old can't figure that out. No, they didn't do that. And so their weight, the depth settings were completely hoots. And that magnetic fuse, sure, that was of course also because of the hemisphere, because they tested it somewhere, could also figure that shit out. So that torpedo was, and same probably as the same dudes that tested the G46, you have sometimes clueless retards sitting there, earning more than you, 5 million kilometers away from the front line. You don't know how even they got to their jobs. And they have zero clue, but they test critical stuff that gets people killed. Crazy. And it never changed. I mean, you have this basically, this human. If you have it, I think nowadays it's even worse, I think, probably. Yeah. Is there a way to use that psych directly, or do I need really to use it indirect? Sure, it's but it's basically that should be fine. And now get the difference, yeah. You had guys, man, I can't even figure out shit of a simulation weight out in a test torpedo, and you have those dudes rolling dive bombers, man, getting information, flying through flak. They have to use information they go into the dive bomb, pick targets, and go all in, yeah, while those ships firing at them, and they make it, yeah, they get it done. never really lived in a meritocracy. Holy shit. Dive bombing is really art. Also ARMA has also a bit word physics. So really going into this dive, I mean, engaged really, they had to go into this dive mode. You had really basically a button there, which triggered the same for Stukas, yeah. Otherwise those planes, they can't make it, man. It's a really dangerous business and really precise business. Where the flaps go complete, yeah. I think the prop goes even into a mode. So they're getting slowed down because otherwise you will not survive that dive bomb. You will not recover the plane. I mean, the Stuka is the first training flight of the Germans is one of the biggest losses in German military aviation. They really one of the first flights where they tested the Stuka out. They suffered bad weather and somehow missed the altitude and everything, and basically those dudes crashed full ahead in dive bomb into the ground. I don't know how many, 12 planes or something. While the leader recovered, everybody else didn't recover and crashed into the ground. Because they didn't see the ground because of the fog and they were thinking they are in air, and suddenly the ground was in front of their face. That was one of the... And then they wanted to show, hey man, the Stuka is really good. We heard it from the Americans, they also use those dive bombers, man, that is a crazy shit, it's super precise. Because obviously dive bombing was the most precise method. Especially naval, you can't. But as on ground force, you need dive bombers to get precise bombardment. Everything else is imprecise. Level bombing, that is, or tactical bombing, that is. But they all crashed. They all crashed of one dude. Perhaps the second groups did better, but the first group, man, they all witnessed how those planes simply crashed on the ground. All died. Yeah, military aviation history. Yeah, I think I also watched that. Is that a guy with a German accent, right? I think he has several channels. He makes ground force and what? It's a guy here with the Panzermuseum Münster. Ich weiß nichts, so ein Dude with a, or was it somebody else? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, he has several channels. They keep it always apart. Yeah, exactly. Level flag bombing is... if you carpet bomb something, okay, yeah, but... I mean, there's of course also tactical bombing where you basically don't do a full dive, but something what you would do in modern, yeah, with CAP bombing, which you also don't do in a full dive. With this reticles and everything, yeah. But still, the hitting chance. I mean, hitting something like, I don't know, even a troop concentration or a tank was absolutely impossible. Or a ship. And there were even people that tried to level bomb ships or even submarines, they all missed. It was either dive bombers or torpedoes, yeah, for Navy. While torpedoes had simply the super high risk because they had to level out there in a low altitude, while the dive bombers could at least hide in high altitude. They were only perhaps prone to fighters, but those fighters had to reach them first. When they were discovered, before the fighters were airborne and could reach them, they were already in a dive. In a dive, they are simply hard to intercept. Yeah. Nah, bombing was super imprecise. Dive bombing was most precise. And even the dive bomber pilots, most of them couldn't handle. They were so, especially beginners, not to link out the bomb too early. So this will obviously introduce errors. On the other hand, you need to. I mean, they had a program. I think there was even automated programs, also for Stuka pilots, where the plane is automatically recovering. But still, yeah, you had to. I guess it was settings or whatever. Or you need to press a button or something. It was super complicated stuff and very risky. Yeah, there was of course jibbies that simply shot into the water or onto the ground. And if you linked out the bomb too early, you missed. And if you linked out the bomb too late, you might even get hit by the blast if it impacts somewhere. And that was really high. And you have pilots like that pull it off in formation. I mean, sure, they were not flying. I mean, they were of course done also picking targets. I mean, it was also in the Battle of Midway that one dude decided on its own, hey man, nobody's going for that aircraft carrier. Okay, I go for it, and he sunk it. And yeah, but it was really a high skill job, yeah. And then you have some retard man in the Waffenbeschaffungsamt that is testing torpedoes with beansacks, yeah? And saying, nah man, there's nothing wrong with it. And now ask yourself who is probably earning more, yeah? That high risk pilot or that retard officer, staff officer, man, in that Waffenbeschaffungsamt, yeah. Dick Best, yeah, I think that was this, Jimmy Dick, man, back in the days, man, Dick was always a name for some cool American bro, man, who was absolutely, the name is already a Dick what's his name, Dick Best? No, man, wait. Best Dick, man. When he's being called out, man, in military, best Dick. I'm the best Dick here, yeah. But had dick already back in the days a meaning for penis? Because it was, it was often a name also, and I think that because dick, otherwise I wouldn't have called people dick if that would be, you're such a dick or something. Was it even a thing back in the days in World War II? Dicks were always dicks. I don't know, but I mean, if you call people dick, well, it's also, I mean, nowadays nobody's calling anymore using the name dick. I mean, it's probably also unpopular, like here, Hartmut, or some really good German names. I don't know, because I never read something about dicks in World War II that much. But yeah, I also don't read. I mean, sure, they will not mention anything about dicks in military reports. I don't know. Was it already in World War II so popular, despite being a normal name? Tschüss. Okay, bets. Wall Street bets. Chance that I recover this is 0. Should be going, man. Yeah, I think that is a goner. I better save. Better save, man. Nah, man, I stick to the Grumman. That is simply, as I say, ARMA physics. But it was pretty cool. I mean, we had to quit. But getting that altitude takes, of course, some time. I mean, they re-rolled those dives from how many feet? I mean, quite high, because they were safer there from the flak, from the AAA. Because if you would fly in so low as I did, you get shot down. Yeah, you come in high, because the reaction force, if they spot you, then they need to launch those fighters, but they can get them airborne, but they will, before they reach your altitude, yeah, you're already in a dive. Then you need to consider how to survive, but perhaps those, because usually they roll often without fighter cover because the fighters couldn't even reach the distance. It's crazy, man. Those dudes rolled in without any fighter cover, nothing. Okay. Submarine. Contrary to popular belief, Dauntlesses couldn't dive. Arte, watched that on Arte. Public broadcast, thank you. So that is some post-war myth that you could because it was called dive bomber. That's why so many people believe it could dive. Yeah, was something else it could dive, but unfortunately not. Yeah. Contrary to popular belief. Okay. Yeah, was cool. We might continue that, but I might not continue my Pacific campaign. That was hot as shit yesterday. But well made. I mean, for ARMA 3. It's still, I mean, I'm not really the pilot dude. Especially dive bombing, man, that is quite challenging. But yeah, well made. The intro is really good. Again, top work here. I mean, when it comes to aircraft action, that was the best stuff. I even forgot that I was playing ARMA. So usually it's ARMA, man, you fly with an aircraft. You for 1 minute you don't use your brain, you already hit the end of the map. We're flying some, I don't know, it's some F-22 Raptor, man. engaging afterburner. In 10 seconds you already passed the map. Pat Wilson's campaign generator. This is that EL2. I think I know that from back in the days. Yeah, man, EL2. Nah, man, EL2 was really good. I mean, the original EL2, not the new EL2, which you can now buy. Or do you mean that one? Do you mean the new EL2? I mean, they sell now a new EL2. Ah, the new one. Yeah, it's also good. Yeah, I was thinking you're talking about the EL2, the EL2 in 1946, the legend. Yeah, I wanted to buy perhaps a bomber or something, but I'm not really that much into... I found always World War II flying quite challenging. Super challenging. I'd rather fly a jet that is flying by wire where I press knobs and fire a Merrick. It's not any here too much maneuvering. I found always World War II was super challenging. Never really became a super good virtual pilot in that regard. And I played a lot of EL2 as a kid. Man, 1946. That was a game. $10 or $5, man, on the Sparpyramide. Yeah, and good campaigns were a bit lacking. I remember, man, there was in Germany, they released, there was those third-party add-ons for Silent Hunter and also for EL2 Sturmovik. Der Arktisjäger. And then you had some story campaign about some German ace. Was really cool. Man, I got shot down mostly, but crashed landed, but it was still fun, yeah. No, not that Korean War one. Yeah. Korean War? Yeah, is there a new one now? EL2? They wanted to do Korea, right? It's new, right? EL2 Korea. But that is new. Yeah. It would be cool, those classic jets. I was once considering to buy the Sabre or the MiG-19 in DCS, but it's, I don't know, man, DCS also quite a time investment. I bought 7, I own, 10 DCS modules. I spent more time on the purchase window than with those games, yeah. I spent more time getting my purse out than playing those games. I completed the A10 training, even with my bodybuilder Logitech controller joystick. I remember back in the days Lock On, but you can still buy Lock On. Lock On is really cool because it is SIM card. Everything, physics and everything is really good. But you don't have this, switch here 5,000 modes. The only thing I really ever went full proficient with was the F-16 in Falcon. F-16, Jimmy, man, I was 2 years old, man. I could operate that F-16 with everything, man. Yeah, I checked out this VTOL VR. Wait, no, VR not. But I think you can also play it without VR, right? That is... no, VTOL. No, yeah, okay. I was thinking you're talking about this game, future sci-fi game where you fly SIM card planes with... Yeah, no. You're talking about... Yeah. No, this one I didn't check out, VTOL VR. But I know which one you're talking about. Good, I will now return to the Pacific campaign. Let's activate them all. Let's keep Solomon, but play some of the others. That was the best stuff so far, man. The night combat there was some of the best ARMA stuff, and that attack there, like in Red Fin Line, I really loved that movie. Yeah, but I'm not a pilot anymore. It's for me, I simply don't have the... back in the days, when I was very young, I was very crazy about flight simulations. I remember how I read the manual of Falcon. Even read the ACM, Advanced Combat Maneuvers manual. It was really cool. And learned that F-16 even learned to do ATC in Falcon. And learned all the weapons in the F-16, yeah. Laser-guided bombs, Mavericks, whatever. Boycott or play. Despite the cause for boycott. Why people boycotting it? So these days when everything is getting boycotted. Nah, man, that's 5,000 years ago. Yeah, Immelmann is a maneuver, but I can't even remember how exactly it now was conducted, but sure, I mean, with a modern aircraft, it's also a bit easier. I think with a World War II aircraft, it was probably more difficult, because if you overpull that plane, it dies or it simply breaks apart. Okay, quickly stop the stream and then we play one of those campaigns. Oh, let's first figure out which one. So I want to give the other campaigns a try. One is a British one in the Pacifics, I think. Did I check that one out? Is it in Burma? Because that one where they got re-wrecked. By the Japanese man getting chased by Japanese on bicycles. With Drahtreifen. Man, they built those, they often had those, the wheels, the tires, they were made out of springs. They never drove a bicycle like that, man. And then you need to drive it in some Pacific environment. There's not really, they didn't have Radwege, yeah? There were no bicycle paths on those trails. But, hallo, ist das hier der Radweg? Nee. Das ist hier whatever Weg. Ah, yeah, that is this. Man, that is where the hey, that must be also good. I mean, the British really got also clapped hard in the beginning. What is it? Yeah, Port Moresby, okay. Ah, no, okay. Yeah. Who formulated the plan? Oh man. Check that out. Papua New Guinea, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about that battle, what happened, but I guess they got also 42. They got clapped hard there, right? Or at least pushed hard. So the Japanese, they went quite crazy there. The Commonwealth forces, they got... Okay, Kokoda Trail, quickly cutting the stream and restarting.